All Quiet on the Western Front was released in 1930. It was directed by Louis Milestone, and it picked up the Oscar for Best Picture in 1931. It follows a group of German soldiers during the First World War as they sign up, go through their training, and then obviously go off to battle. And I see the roots here of so many other war movies that I've seen. There's a lot of times when, as a movie fanatic, you start to see where imprints were made, and you realise that, like for example, Full Metal Jacket for me, for the longest time was kind of like a gold standard of what war movies could be, and elements about war movies that I'd never seen before in my 16 years of watching movies, most of which weren't war movies, which kind of pathetic in a way. The war movies I saw as a kid, or remember as a kid, were like Men on a Mission type stuff, and there was a lot in there that I felt like wasn't necessarily symbolic or truthful to what war was. And so I'd see something like Full Metal Jacket and completely just, wow, I've never seen that in a film before. That's completely changed the way, movies do war movies. And then, I'd find out that actually even something that I think was released in the same year or a year before, Heartbreak Ridge, did a lot of the things that Full Metal Jacket did. Full Metal Jacket did them better, I think, a bit more extreme, but certainly there was things in Heartbreak Ridge where I could see a pattern there. And then you go back in further and you watch movies like Apocalypse Now, and that reshapes how, all right, okay, they were doing a lot of this stuff even before Stanley Kubrick got his hands on it. And then here we have All Quiet on the Western Front. As I say, a film that is nearly 100 years old. It's 94 years old this year. It's not on the level of something like Full Metal Jacket or even Heartbreak Ridge, obviously, but that's a time thing. That's, like with the amount of time that distances this film from them, there's so many more techniques they have at their disposal, so much more technology they have at their disposal. And when you put it in context of that and you look at what they're doing here, just from a story standpoint, it's really quite incredible. It's very impressive. A film from 1930, and they're dealing with a lot of things that I wouldn't have anticipated a Hollywood movie doing until, I don't know, at least after the 50s. The fact that they're following a German regiment for a start is pretty groundbreaking, I would say. Liberal, I would say. They get us to identify with these men. It's never political. With regards to this troop that we follow, we're not following them because of their political ideas. This is just a group of people who go to fight for their country. They don't really know the reasons why. They assume that the people in charge know what they're doing, are sending them off for the right reasons. And so they answer the call. So we follow them. And across the course of the movie, we see how war wears them down. How, in fact, towards the end, it does get political. Because these men are forced to confront their own political ideas. And how they were sent to war without thinking about such things. And now that, they're coming to the end of it, they are thinking about this thing. They are questioning, why the hell did we go? Why the hell did we answer the call? What was this all about? And it does make you kind of look at the enemy in a different light. And again, like I say, that yes, there's films that have done that, more recently. But this is 1930, and I wouldn't expect it. And I think it does one well to go back and watch older movies and see how actually there's a lot of attitudes we have today and a lot of risks we take in movies today that they were taking even back then. Now we open up the film in essentially a classroom. I can't remember it's precisely the opening, but right near the opening at any rate, we see a classroom in which the students within the class are essentially being indoctrinated, and you see it today in schools. It's not necessarily about war, not necessarily about getting people to sign up for the military, but other issues, whether it's gender issues and things like that. There's always an ideology within the classroom, within the public school system. Whether people want to acknowledge that or not, I believe that's the case. And I feel like it makes this film still relevant. You know, we open up with that scene, and it's really powerful to watch, because you see the ways in which these kids are being indoctrinated by someone they're meant to trust. You know, when somebody stands at the front of a classroom and they're the authority figure, they are meant to be trusted. The people that are learning from them should be able to trust them, should be able to learn from them and take on board whatever it is they're passing on. And when you look at it from our side now, and you see that actually, no, they're being indoctrinated, it's quite powerful. It's quite a powerful thing to watch, given the current climate of education. From there on, it's just, like I say, explores all the different facets of war through the eyes of these young soldiers, whether it be losing people that they've built up strong friendships with, whether it be trying to find just the slightest moment of comfort within what is a physically uncomfortable situation, or whether it's making a connection with a woman that they don't speak the same language of, just because they've not had that kind of connection since they've been away from home. It makes these people very real, very grounded, very relatable, even though, you know, had we been watching it back then and we're going in to see a film like this, we're essentially going in to see a film about the enemy, about the Germans we fought against. And what it does is actually make them relatable. It's actually show us that they weren't that different to, you know, the Allied forces that were off fighting in the war. They were just fighting for the wrong reasons that they didn't know about, because they were off doing what their country told them, what their leaders told them. It's a much more complex film than I would have expected. It's got some pretty decent war sequences in it. You know, some of the fighting sequences in it in the trenches and on the battlefield are a lot more impressive than I would expect them to be. This is back in the day when you didn't have CGI. If they wanted to put something on camera, they had to put it on camera. And I just, even now with a film that's 94 years old, it's more impressive to me than just spewing a load of CGI at the screen. So from that side of things, I really appreciated it as well. Where I think the film is let down is the pacing today. And again, that could just be a modern day thing. I think back then it wouldn't have been an issue. But yeah, it's quite plodding at times. There's the sequences where I think a more efficient writer would have been able to condense down the ideas that were being explored within any given sequence much tighter. This is a film that's just a little over 2 hours. I think it could have easily been an hour and a half. Again, given how old it is, I won't hold that against it too much. I think the performances in it across the board are nothing spectacular. But again, that could be by today's standards. You know, this is one of the early talkies. We're literally like 3-4 years into talkie movies, so it's like, okay, they're still learning. So I can't hold that against them too much, but there are performances in here where I'm like, that's twee. As I keep saying, given the age of this film, I cannot help but be impressed by it. Will I watch it again? Probably not. It probably doesn't have repeat viewing value for me, but I was impressed. I was pleasantly surprised, and I think that, yeah, it was a worthy Best Picture winner. I say that as someone who's not really seen a right lot of anything from 1930. I think I've probably seen maybe 2 other movies from that year. But given my expectations of what cinema from that period would be like, I would say, yeah, I think it was worthy. But what about you? Have you seen All Quiet on the Western Front? And if so, what did you think about it? And I know they recently did a remake or a reimagining, a retelling of this story in German. So I've not seen that. I've heard good things. But if you have seen that, let me know what you think about that one, whether that's worth a watch. Leave your thoughts down in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this review, and until next time, cracking.